Katniss Everdeen, Girl on Fire, has survived, even though her home has been destroyed. Gale has escaped. Katniss's family is safe. Peeta has been captured by the Capitol. District 13 really does exist. There are rebels. There are new leaders. A revolution is unfolding. It is by design that Katniss was rescued from the arena in the cruel and haunting Quarter Quill. And it is by design that she has long been part of the revolution without knowing it. District 13 has come out of the shadows and is plotting to overthrow the Capitol. Everyone, it seems, has had a hand in the carefully laid plans. Except Katniss. The success of the rebellion hinges on Katniss's willingness to be a pawn, to accept responsibility for countless lives, and to change the course of the future of Panem. To do this, she must put aside her feelings of anger and distrust. She must become the rebel's Mockingjay, no matter what the personal cost. And yep, folks, my next dramatic reading will be of Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is the final book in the Hunger Games trilogy, and I know a lot of fans of the trilogy think this is the worst book, but personally, it is my favorite. Hands down, my favorite. This just has so many feels that it's like, I'm not usually one person to just cry at a character's death. I'm sort of a cold-hearted bitch that way. But things happen in this book that I'm just like, I felt broken for maybe 2 or 3 weeks after reading this book. And when I get to certain parts, I might, do the reading for that day might be shortened so that I can get through it. I mean, holy shit. And I may or may not read the first 2 books in the series. I mean, do dramatic readings. Of course, I've read the other 2 books myself. So I'm going to go over how I ran into the Hunger Games trilogy instead of just this book personally. So the first Hunger Games movie was about to come out, and I heard it was based on a book trilogy. A book trilogy that I had heard about before. I really enjoyed the design of the Mockingjay, so I think it was in book 2, I really loved the cover art, and someone mentioned, oh, it's a Mockingjay, blah, 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 but I had no clue, the characters or anything. And so I was waiting for the bus one day. There was a Target close by, so I go into the Target, and now I'm just looking around, seeing if there's a good book, just to waste time. And so I see the first Hunger Games book, and I just buy the first one going, I'll just see what, all the fuss is about. I'll be able to compare the book and the movie. I'll probably just think it's okay, and I'll just wait until the next 2 movies come out to read those books. I was fucking wrong. I could not put the first book down, and so luckily Christmas was coming up. And so I was like, I really want not the first 2, but the last 2 books in the Hunger Games trilogy. I really need to read this. And so, yeah, I basically just picked up the first book thinking, it's probably going to be made. But then I was like, I love this. I cannot put this shit down anymore. Holy shit. So, yeah. So, since I will be reading the third book in the trilogy without first reading the first two, if you have not yet seen the first three movies, they of course are splitting this book into two movies. You should, I'm going or have not or haven't read the first two books in the trilogy. I'm going to be giving away spoilers for those books because this is the third book in a trilogy, so of course it's going to be talking about things that happened before. And some questions I may post, I don't mind people spoiling the first two books because I am, reading the third book, so there are going to be connections. So if you don't want to be spoiled, watch and or read. If you watch the movies, you'll at least have a general idea. There's going to be differences because of adaptations. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to start my actual dramatic reading of Mockingjay probably next week if all goes well. I just want to give you time for those of you who might not have been caught up in my dramatic reading of Animorphs, the Animorphs #1, The Invasion, because at the outro of that one, I announced Mockingjay, so those of you who watch that, this vlog is old news. But maybe this is what made you find my channel, so you have no clue, So this is just another warning. And it's going to probably be a little different than my Animorphs dramatic reading, just because the chapters are a little bit longer in this book. So I will probably be instead of each video in the dramatic reading be labeled Chapter 1, Chapter 2, etc. This will probably be labeled just Part 1 and Part 2, etc. I will try to each week get one chapter done in 2 videos, but I'm making no promises. I might have to do 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 videos to cover a chapter, or I'm hoping 3 at the most. So this will be going a little bit slower, and of course is a little bit longer too. So if you have not yet read Mockingjay and want to get a head start on the dramatic reading, you might want to follow along in your book, copy and listen to me read. Or you have to remember that these dramatic readings are also adaptations. So what that means is that what I'm reading might not be how other people interpret the text. Yes, I am reading the words on the page, but what words I decide to add more emphasis to, how I decide to say a line or a word, it can create differences. So you might want to check out the book yourself just to give your own interpretation and maybe tell me, oh, I interpreted that line to be read blah blah blah. And if you want to get the book and you also want to help me, help keep me up and running, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, in the link in the description will be a link to where you can buy the book. And if you're watching this on my bloggity blog, below this video will be an ad where you can buy the book. So, yay! So, hopefully next week, if all goes right, odd things sometimes pop up for whatever reason. So hopefully next week I'll be able to start reading Mockingjay. Woo woo! Hey! I doubt I'll have it finished in time for the Mockingjay Part 2. coming out. I can't sync those up, I'm sorry. And until next video, goodbye.